All right. I want to talk to everybody just a little bit about B-roll. And we've talked about B-roll in class, and I've mentioned it in our Zoom meetings, but let me just mention it again. Basically, B-roll is the footage that we see in a documentary or a news story where uh, someone is describing whatever it is they're talking about. And in this case, I'm going to show you an example. There's a movie about the Portland Mavericks, a minor league baseball team in the late 70s. And Bing Russell, Kurt Russell, the actor's father, is the owner. And Kurt Russell, in this interview, is describing what it's like to have a minor league baseball team in your town. So just listen, and then also pay attention to what you see while he's talking.
The problem with baseball on the minor league level is being connected and affiliated to a big league team. They can take the ball players and put them wherever they want at any time. You never really know who your third baseman is going to be. You don't get to know your first baseman, your catchers, your pitchers, your outfielders. If one of them's having a good year, they're going to move up. So for the town, it's disastrous.
Okay, so that was just a really quick snippet there. And he's talking about, how frustrating it can be for the town because you don't always know what's going on. The players come and go. Sometimes managers come and go. And basically, the question is that I have is, well, what do you see when he's talking? Well, the answer is, and I'll turn down the audio here really quickly. The answer is you see the footage. You see he's talking about a third baseman. He mentions pitchers and outfielders. And so you see a pitcher, you see a batter, and then he also mentions the townspeople. So, of course, you see the fans. And then at the end of this little segment, there is a headline in the Oregonian about the Portland Beavers leaving. And so it all connects. And so you hear what they're talking about and you see what they're talking about. All right. Now, in the video I showed last week in class, I showed a video of my dog Baker running around. And my dog Baker Stitches. So I've got this footage right up here on video line 2. I also have it over here in the clip bin, obviously. But I'm going to turn off video line 2 for a second. And what you see underneath is just my interview. And I won't play the whole thing, but I've enjoyed playing with my dog Baker, as always, because Baker will basically chase anything. And he seems to have a good time doing it. Unfortunately, Baker cut his leg and had to get staples. And as a result, he has to wear a cone. And it's a little harder for Baker to play fetch. Okay, so basically the gist of it is my dog likes to play fetch and seems to have a good time playing fetch, but has an injury and had to get some staples and therefore has to wear a cone, and that makes it a little tougher to play fetch. Okay, so you'd say, well, what kind of footage would we need for that? Well, it's pretty simple. You get footage. Let me turn on the video 2 line here. So this is video line 1 where I have the little interview where I'm talking about the dog. And on video line 2 here, I will place the things that I want to see. Okay, so in this case, now we've got the dog. We've got the dog playing fetch. Okay, and I've put some transitions in there. So there's Baker without the cone, getting a ball. And then a little close up, it's really nice to zoom in on Staples, isn't it? Also, after this happened, he had to get new staples again because he ripped it apart. But that's a side story. Anyway, and then, of course, at the end, you get to see Baker as he tries to fetch the ball. Okay? And so this happens here right after I talk about how much more difficult it is for him. And he does have the cone on. And he does, in fact, actually get the ball. So, yay.
Good job, Baker.
Yay for Baker. But that's it. It's not complicated. Sometimes people overcomplicate documentaries thinking, oh, how am I going to put it together? It's pretty simple. For the most part, the interviews are going to go on line 1. The B-roll footage is going to go on line 2. Sometimes you'll go back from footage and come back to your interview subject and then go to footage again, which is totally fine, however you want to do it, but you basically want to make sure that you see what people are talking about. So for those of you doing documentaries at home, when you talk about all the things that you're doing or that your family is doing, we need to see those things. Everything that you talk about, we need to see. And then the other part, of course, is don't forget, you do need to have a point of view. Just because you document something and you have an interview and you have footage doesn't make it interesting. So that's where the trick comes in for the storytelling component. How are you going to make whatever you're talking about more interesting in a documentary? And it could be that your footage is funny, or that the interviews are funny, or that things are very, very serious, and because of the issues of the documentary themselves, it becomes interesting. But just simply documenting things doesn't make it interesting, and therefore, of course, wouldn't make it entertaining. So just please keep that in mind as you're making your documentary. Try to make it as interesting and engaging as possible. And that's a challenge. That is not an easy thing to do. But using humor is a good but not always necessary way to do it. It's just something that I happen to like. Okay, hopefully this helps you out. Good luck. Please contact me if you have any questions at all.